welcome to Musical Talk, and the last episode about this year's Edinburgh Fringe Festival. On these chilly October mornings, I hope that you're warm inside with a cup of hot chocolate or a brandy if it so takes you. I, for myself, at 10:30 in the morning, have just come in from having a cup of coffee on my balcony, dressed in light trousers and a t-shirt. That's not why I moved to Canada, but I'm damned if I'm not going to brag about it now that I'm here. Anyway, what have I got for you this week? Well, I think this week's theme is going to have to be everything else. That's not to say that it's any less quality necessarily than last week's material, simply that I didn't really know what else to call it. We will be having an extremely brief discussion with a couple of members of the company who put on Sweeney Todd at C2 venues. We will then move on to what I thought was my other best musical of the Fringe, after Part A and Newland. But before that, I got together in a, unfortunately again, rather noisy Pleasance Dome coffee bar to sit and chat with Sandra about the various musicals that we both saw up at the Fringe. So without further ado, let's have a listen to an extremely wide range of musical theatre. So let me take you back in time once again and sit you in the coffee bar of the Pleasance Dome at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Right, well, hello again. I am once again in the Pleasance Dome doing another recording for Musical Talk with...
Sandra, and again in early morning.
And again it's an early morning. Yes, we've seemed to have made a habit of meeting up first thing in the morning when neither of us is entirely awake, but we are going to have a go at talking about some of the musicals that we have seen over the past couple of days. Some together, some apart, and some individually. So let us begin with something that Foss has already discussed and we've done a brief interview on, which is The Drowsy Chaperone. Now, we saw this on Saturday night. It was a bit of a spur-of-the-moment thing because I wasn't actually planning on seeing it, because I don't know if listeners know, my plan when I come up here is I don't see established musicals. I only go and see a musical if it's new, because my aim is to go and see things that I wouldn't normally see in London. Drowsy was an exception because, one, I love it, and two, Foss didn't manage to interview the cast, so we thought we'd see it and do the same. But anyway, I'm actually rather glad that that came about, because this was a rather brilliant show, was it not?
Yes. So on the Sunday, when we actually went to go and see it.
Was it Sunday?
Yes, it was Sunday.
Was it really Sunday?
Yeah.
Wow.
2 days ago.
Okay, I'm just going to pretend I said Sunday.
Yes,
It's early in the morning, people.
Forgive us.
Yes.
So yeah, and it was the very last show, so it's a big, huge thing. The audience was really good and up for it, and I think you could tell. If
Clearly a few friends in the audience.
If this review goes up after the interview, then you can obviously tell that we really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. And we weren't just saying that because the producer were there.
No. And it is, as we discussed with the producer, it's a really good show for the Fringe, because it's an hour and a half long in totality if you take out the Nightingale section that normally happens in where the interval would be. And it really, you don't need to do, I mean, well, you've seen it for the first time. Did you feel like anything was missing?
No.
Exactly. And that's it. That's the whole show.
Yeah.
There's one joke that's kind of missing out, but it doesn't really matter, I don't think. So we thoroughly enjoyed this. I think there were a couple of people getting a little bit tired because it was the end of the run.
Yes.
I think after 2 weeks of doing a show like that, particularly some of the songs that people have to sing, it's not surprising.
No. The only problem for some people is that because it's on night, we had problem hearing them, and we were sat on what, third row, fourth row, or something.
Fourth,
so we were
I think. Yeah. Trix in particular.
Yeah. She had a beautiful voice, but you just couldn't hear what she was singing.
No, and as soon as the chorus came, there was a section where she's supposed to float above the chorus, and the chorus kind of drowned her.
Yeah.
Which is no fault of theirs, it was just unfortunate the way that the sound worked in that particular venue.
She couldn't project, which is quite important when doing musical theatre.
Slightly, yes.
Yes.
But I think that actually, on the whole, it was perhaps a slight technical issue, and perhaps a couple of things that could have been tweaked, and one or two things I'd like to have seen done differently, but I thought they did a really good reduction of this.
I think we happily agree with Foss's 4-star review.
And that's been covered a few times now, so we shall move on to the other show that we saw separately, but we both saw, and that is Sweeney Todd, produced by the Lincoln Company at C2. That's CTOO as opposed to the second floor and C venues, which
not confusing
just
at all.
confuses the living daylights out of me, quite frankly. But there you go. Anyway, this was an hour and a half, quite substantially cut. It wasn't an
Supposed to
existing
be an
cut.
hour and 20, but I think it turned out to be
it was an hour and a half, I think, when I saw it as well. It's not an existing cut, it's a new cut that they did. What did you think?
I think, because I know the original so well, I can quote literally the entire musical, so I can tell exactly what they've done script-wise and moving stuff. There's a really clever thing in the beginning, how they did Poor Thing, just before it comes into the pie shop.
Yes,
which I thought
with
was clever.
the cut of actually having...
so they had a freeze and then she sang the Poor Thing with Sweeney actually being there, so kind of in a storytelling way rather than to him.
Which is interesting. I have to admit, when I saw that, I actually thought they were going to cut Mrs. Lovett's reprise where they told of him being transported. I was looking at that thinking...
Me too. How are they going to explain that then?
Okay, we've just jumped over a chunk of story. They did actually come back, but what they essentially did was they had Mrs. Lovett sing one verse of Poor Thing in the middle of the song, just to introduce the character, I think.
Yes, and just, I think it works though, because she doesn't have to tell Sweeney this story, she can tell the story to the audience and then remind Sweeney, basically.
An extension of the ballad, almost.
Yes. But so they had done an awful lot of cutting, and it's kind of, it's all over the place in that sense, and I had a problem grasping all of the story, because it's like, well, does that mean they've cut that? Does that mean that that's not in? I don't know if the other audience members who may not have seen the show before, if they noticed, but I did. I think I felt a bit stressed watching it, because it was clearly they needed to keep it short, which is fine, fair enough. But I thought they cut out a few vital bits, and
such as
the judge is barely in this production at all, and you really need to get a grip of how nasty this character is. Fine if they cut Mea Culpa, that's always the first one to go.
It is. I think actually in many ways Mea Culpa isn't often cut. I think it's actually more a question of Mea Culpa is sometimes put into the production.
Yeah, that's very true.
Because I think a lot of productions... But yes, you're quite right, that is the first thing to go. And there are the obvious ones as well, aren't there, like Parlour Songs and By the Sea, which just aren't really needed to actually continue the story.
Right.
But, sorry,
he does an awful lot to the characters, I think, a few versions. I can't remember what was cut now and stuff, but...
well, there were bits and pieces.
By the end, I was like, okay, but that doesn't quite make sense, because then that happened before...
I do think that part of the inherent problem here is that we are two people who know this show extremely well. I have a copy of the score, I've played the whole show in my time.
Next to my bed.
Yeah.
Literally.
And I wonder if part of the problem with this performance was that for people who really know it well, we're sitting there filling in the blanks.
Yes.
Because I agree with you. I was trying to work out where each cut was taking us, where if I didn't know the story, obviously that wouldn't be an issue.
No.
So I think they come up against a slight brick wall there, which is that people who know the show well...
Which is a problem when doing an established show, because people will compare it.
Of course. And unless you do... Thos and I, you may not have heard this particular story, but Thos and I went to see A Funny Thing Happen on the way to the Forum, which only contained one song. Which was Comedy Tonight, sung at the beginning and the end, and everything in between was just acting, no song at all.
Does it still count as a musical?
Well, we wondered about this. That was so different that you ignored all the cutting because you didn't quite know what was going to happen and you just ran with it. I think that Sweeney was somewhere stuck in the middle where it was different, but it wasn't different enough for you to be able to put the original to one side.
No. And it's not based on a play, it's based on a musical, it's got the same music and everything.
Yes,
it's not like they're just using the same story, it's the same show.
Quite so.
So I think Sweeney Todd should be a small production. I don't think it should be a huge West End show, which it obviously is and is doing very well. But I quite like it being in the sort of small basement and telling this weird story of something that supposedly happened, which it didn't. But yeah, I quite like the intimacy you get in small productions.
It becomes a bit more threatening.
Yeah. And it's like you're being let in on a secret. This is people of London telling what happened on Fleet Street, kind of gossipy. And it doesn't have to be huge.
And there were some bits and pieces of this production that I thought were done rather marvellously. They overcame the deaths very well.
Yes, I was just about to ask. Should we give it away? How they do it?
Well, given that this isn't going to go out while the run is still on, I don't think it's any problem.
I know Nick saw a production where when they had their throat cut, they had a red tie put on to signify
Right.
that. So it's kind of a similar concept here, where they have their throat cut, but they take out a handkerchief which is covered in blood and they hang it on a washing line which is just going over the stage.
And I have to admit, I was sitting here for the beginning of this production going, what on earth is that washing line doing there? And I was trying to fathom out. Well, I was sitting in the front row and it was right in front of me, and I couldn't work out quite why it was there.
Oh,
but
no.
I thought it was rather clever, because
Yes.
it meant that they could make the deaths very quick, which obviously, depending on how grisly you want to be.
And by the end, when the whole washing line is filled with, bloody, I think that's a quite good image. I was sat on the front row by one of the aisles, and people were just running past me all the time. I just had to watch out for cast members.
I nearly tripped up Mrs. Lovett at one point, actually.
No, really. The judge kicked me.
Yes, there was the chairs. The production was a little wide for its space. I think I was always nervous I was going to catch someone, but I didn't.
Yeah, it's fine.
But there were some, directorially, there were some very good bits. I actually had a couple of set malfunctions on the day that I was there, which was they had this quite rather clever set, which was
Is this a fold-up?
the centre was a solid piece that stayed put, but each side of the backdrop was a triangular sort of truck that you could roll round and open out to show different scenery, which was very clever. Unfortunately, a couple of times they weren't pinned in properly, and the door just gradually swung open when it wasn't meant to, which was slightly awkward. But actually, I think it was a very clever set for the show, because it allowed them to create different atmospheres reasonably well.
Another thing I find interesting in any Sweeney production is how are they going to do Toby? Because Toby started out just being a normal, like 20-something-year-old man with some sort of disturbed mind. I can't remember what it is. And now, since the film, he's started being played by kids, well, the younger people. And in our production, he's played by a woman playing a young boy.
Yes.
What do you think of that?
I think it worked, actually.
I found it unnecessary. I think they could have found if they wanted to go for the young boy, they could have gone.
I think the thing with this is it depends upon the makeup of their society, because this is a university company. I'm sure that was probably their best choice. And actually, to do this girl credit, she actually sang the part beautifully, and she had some high notes that I'm fairly certain probably got a few passing bats to listen in, because she had an astronomically high voice. And I thought that the only thing I think that was potentially a problem was because it was played by an adult woman, the voice was a bit too sweet. Which sounds odd, because Toby's being sweet makes it creepy. But it was sweet in a sort of angelic quality rather than a creepy quality, which I think lost something slightly from... I thought she went mad at the end very well.
Yeah.
And she was,
that's when the sweet thing works.
Yeah, and she became slightly disturbing. But Toby as regular Toby rather than disturbed Toby, I thought didn't quite flow for me.
I think she could have done a good Joanna.
I think she would have done a good Joanna, actually. I think she was... I think either part worked. For me, I didn't have a problem, I must admit, with her playing Toby. I thought it worked well. The only thing I thought, and I don't even know whether I should say this or not, but I thought she could have been slightly better strapped.
I see what you mean. Yes,
she obviously wasn't wearing.
An obvious woman.
She was an obvious woman and obviously wasn't wearing strapping. And
she could have cut her hair.
Well, yes.
But that maybe.
That's perhaps a bit excessive. But I did feel she was a bit obviously female, which slightly jarred with me.
Yeah.
But speaking of performances, I think credit has to go to Sweeney.
Yes.
Because Sweeney was brilliant.
Yeah.
And I mean, regardless of, we'll discuss star ratings for the show in a moment, but I think there was a 4-star Sweeney performance right there, because I was really convinced by him. At the beginning, I thought he was going to be a bit stare into space, but actually, once you got the intricacies of him getting angry at losing the judge and then going through the epiphany, that became clear that was just the almost directionless Sweeney. And once he had his goal of I'm going out to get you, he became much more three-dimensional. And actually, I thought that forgave what I thought was going to be a slightly questionable beginning.
But when it comes to Sweeney, his mind is often elsewhere when stuff is going on around him, and I thought he did that very well. He was still in the scene, but just kind of not connected with the characters, which Sweeney's not supposed to be at that point. He's just focused on what he needs to do, and then everything happens around him.
absolutely.
We had a bit of a problem with the judge simply because he seemed way too young.
Yeah.
And he wasn't scary at all. That's the creepiest character in the story. It's him and Mrs. Lovett who are the real villains.
Yeah.
In a story filled with villains.
Well, I think that the problem for me was the fact that the judge actually looked about half Sweeney's age, which, bearing in mind he had to be old enough to send Sweeney away, didn't quite work.
He looks about Joanna.
Plus the fact that he was, well, this is it. Plus the fact that Joanna looked just that little bit too old for my liking. She looked older than the judge did.
Well, that's what you get in this kind of small fringe.
You do.
Show,
the thing that makes me, the judge had good hair to be greyed up.
Yes.
And he was there with jet black slicked hair, and I just thought maybe that's one thing they could have done to improve and slightly creep the character, is just make him up a little bit. Because if I was going to criticise something in the visual, actually I like the visuals of this show. I thought that the costumes were good. I thought on the whole, the Beatles costume in particular, I thought was very effective. I just felt that the judge was the one who looked wrong.
Yeah.
And that's just a little nitpick really, and something that could be easily picked up to improve the overall aesthetic of his character. So, with that in mind, we had a chat about this and we agreed.
We agreed in the end. Some things I really loved about this production, and then some things I really didn't take to at all.
And of course we also saw it on 2 different nights, so we may have got 2 different performances, but we settled on a 3 stars for this show, with a couple of 4-star performances.
Yeah.
It was good. It was problematic for people who know the story too well. And you have 2 Sweeney nerds talking here, so that was going to be a problem.
Yeah.
But I was glad I went. By no means was I upset that I went to go and see the show.
I'd love to hear from someone who saw it for the first time at that show. I'd have loved to hear that. Anyone on Twitter, just let us know. Yeah,
please do, actually, because that would be very intriguing to hear your views on sort of what this was, especially if you have then since seen the West End production.
And do not see the film. I think some of the people in this production had seen the film, and that's
there were a couple of slightly inspired performances, weren't there?
Why did they? Okay, a pet peeve of mine is when they cut the right arm, when they just go, "My arm is complete again." My right arm is complete again. It's right. I don't know why that bothers me, but he did the film version of just "My arm's complete." However, they do that in the West End as well, I believe. They just do.
One of those things, I suppose.
But that's just
the other thing I think they need to be a tiny bit careful of is not setting up particular lyrics, because, now correct me if I'm wrong, there's a couple of examples of this, but the one I remembered was where Mrs. Lovett is saying gillyflowers or daisies.
Yeah.
She said perhaps gillyflowers instead of daisies when she hadn't actually yet mentioned daisies at all.
Yeah.
So be careful when you're cutting a show not to cut something and then put in something which refers to the bit you've just cut.
And it's like the reprise of By the Sea comes in later in the show. Well, not a reprise, but it's there, and we haven't heard it at all during the show. So
that's in a way slight, because it wasn't sort of properly.
I guess it's fine, but
you can kind of get away with that.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you. It is just something to watch out for.
Some lyrics they just got the wrong meaning of. So there was 2 instances I thought of. One is when a cockroach runs over her desk and she's supposed to say, "No, you don't." But here she said it to Sweeney, "No, you don't," because he was trying to leave. And there was another one, but it's tiny, tiny things.
Yeah.
It's just the things we notice because we know it too well.
Absolutely. Well, that was it for things that we actually saw together, other than the fact that we were unknowingly seated about 3 seats apart when we saw Jimmy Carr, which was quite funny. So let's move on and talk about what you've seen, because you've seen quite a few shows.
I have. It's my first time in Edinburgh, and I was so excited, and then I had such a nightmare journey. Everything's gone wrong for me this trip.
It hasn't exactly been the smoothest ride I've ever heard of.
Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. But that's fine.
But you managed to salvage it.
Yes.
And you've managed to see an awful lot of musical theatre as a result.
Yes. Literally, when I first arrived, I went to Fringe box office where everything crashed. In the end, I managed to get my tickets and went straight off to see venues, to see Company, obviously the Sondheim one.
Now, this is something I cannot see, because it's the full 2.5-hour show, isn't it?
Yes.
And regardless of what time my show happens to be happening, it clashes with me.
Which is a real shame, because I really, really enjoyed this production.
Okay.
I did. I thought it was great.
Do tell.
This is the first time I've actually seen a production of Company. I know it quite well. I think it's one of Sondheim's better, and I'm a huge Sondheim fan. I have a bit of a problem with story when it comes to this, because it's about Bobby, who turns 35, and he's not sure whether or not to get married, or if he wants to get married, and he's surrounded by couples.
What is it? Good and crazy people, your married friends, indeed.
Yeah, exactly. And he's got the great song Side by Side, which I just love, to which I automatically just add, bye Sondheim.
Yes, right. Me too. Anyone who has seen Side by Side will do, I think. It's,
yes.
it's the perfect ending to a show. Anyway, that is neither here nor there.
No.
Company.
Anyway, because I didn't see Side by Sondheim, though I heard a bit of it when we were outside the
Yes, we were sitting in the venue and listening to it flowing through the door.
Yes. I thought so it was my very first Fringe production, and I didn't, well, obviously I'd seen Fringe before, but first Edinburgh Fringe.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know what to expect. So I knew this was the full thing, which is rare for the Fringe. I just thought it was great. It was like seeing a proper professional production, like in a small theatre in London.
Do you remember which company it was doing it?
The Royal Conservatoire of Scotland. Is that how it's pronounced?
Oh, it's the RCS.
Yes.
Okay. Now, the RCS, of course, do 3 shows every year, and this is something that Thos and I discussed last year. They will do one big show, and they will do an established, existing musical and do a big production of it. They will then do 2 smaller shows, which I believe Thos saw Active Virgin, which is one of their smaller shows, and I forget what the other one, Towards the Moon, the other one, which I don't believe anybody of us have seen, so
no.
Do tweet us and let us know what that was like. But yes, so that's their standard pattern. Now, unfortunately, as of yet, I've still got a few days to go, but I haven't managed to see any of these, and obviously, as I said, I can't see company. But last year I did see one, and it was very high quality. So from the sounds of what you're saying, that has been maintained this year.
Definitely. But yeah, I was just kind of blown away by how professional it was, and it looks, and it was great. It was a small production, didn't have many set pieces, but it didn't need much set pieces, really. What's really nice about this show is that you sit and you just enjoy the show. You don't go for the amazing story, or you don't go for this or that. You just sit there, enjoy the 2 hours, and then you go home with kind of just having seen a nice show. It's not...
Now, this is in C venues.
Yes.
What size band do they have? Do they have a full band for this?
8, including the conductor. So 7, yeah. But yeah, it was really good sound. It was a bit warm in there, but maybe that's just because I've been stressing around all day, running around like crazy. Yeah, because it was in the...
C-1, the main
Yes,
theatre.
-1, yeah.
Which is a warm venue at best of times, to be fair.
Yeah. And it's kind of half empty, which is a bit of a shame, because I think that show deserved an audience.
And this is bearing in mind you came up in the middle of the second week.
Yeah. Yes, I just enjoyed it. That was it. I didn't overanalyze this show. I just sat there and just enjoyed what is the great Sondheim, and great ensemble. Every single person was great. Nothing really stood out as phenomenal or bad. I just thought it was really kind of good and just nice and enjoyable and very watchable, and people should go and see it. That's what I have to say about Company.
You then went on to see...
I've seen a few comedians and stuff like that, but that's not what the podcast is for.
Indeed.
So the next proper musical I saw was the 25th annual Putney County Spelling Bee. Did I get everything?
Putnam County.
Putnam, what should I say?
Putney. It all takes place in southwest London, folks.
Yes. Which I think this is the perfect Fringe show. It was so funny, and I don't know if people seen it? Have you seen it?
I don't know. I personally have not. I missed it when it was at Donmar Warehouse because I was too slow off the blocks and couldn't be bothered to get up there at stupid o'clock in the morning to queue for returns. I may try and go and see it if it's still running. I can't remember while I'm up here, although I suspect it's probably selling out by now because it's the kind of show that does, if it's a good production. So tell us about the production.
Yeah, I think as soon as you enter, you've got the characters out and about, which I often found just awkward and stuff, but I thought it really works, and they're all in such good character, and it's that kind of show. It's much audience interaction without it ever being kind of in your face and annoying, and you just sit there, just leave it alone. So first of all, when you come in, you can sign up for the spelling bee, and they get 3 people up on stage to join them in the actual spelling bee and in some of the dance routines, and it's so funny watching.
Excellent.
We had 3 lovely people who did well enough to last for a bit. But yeah, and it's just a charming, small show, and the cast is phenomenal. Acting-wise, it's just spot on, and it's so sweet and so nice, and you laugh throughout the entire thing. And it's got heart as well. It's because you've got these really silly things, and they dance and they sing and they throw sweets to the audience, but then you've got actual heart in it as well, with this one young girl whose parents doesn't really spend any time with her. Her mother's in
For those listeners then who don't particularly know the story, what's this show about? And tell me, because I'm not that certain, to be honest.
It is what it says on the tin. It's the 25th annual... No, Putney. It's basically a spelling bee. It's
26th annual Essex County.
Yes. So when you come in, the characters go around and ask, so you in the spelling bee? And I said, no. Oh, do you know anyone in the spelling bee? So do you just like spelling? We just went, yeah. You're just basically watching a spelling bee, but it's a musical as well. It's got the songs and the dances, and it's just charming. It's all of these really clever kids. I think it's about 6 kids plus the added 3 from the audience who compete, and each of the kids has a story they're telling, and it's just sweet and charming and funny, and it was such a sweet production. It was really good costume-wise and set-wise, because it was a really tiny space. They did so well with the space, and it did feel like you were kind of in a genuine spelling bee, apart from the fact that they broke out in song. And I just bought the whole thing. It was so sweet, and yeah, I can't say well enough things about this production. I thought it was genuinely wonderful.
Fair enough. An excellent recommendation for it then.
Well, and a definite 5-star rating.
Fantastic. Well, if I do get the chance to go and see it, I will. I will, because it is a show I want to see at some point in time.
Now the next one I saw on the same day, I think. I can't remember. It's a show that didn't do too well in London. Well, it did well at the Lyric Hammersmith, and then failed miserably at the Novello. And hopefully people know what I'm talking about. I saw Spring Awakening, which is
ever so slightly different from the spelling bee. Just a tiny little bit.
Tiny change of yes.
I suppose relevant in the sense of school is still a part of it if you're looking for some sort of tenuous tie. But I wouldn't. I wouldn't really try.
No. So have you seen Spring Awakening?
I have done, in the sense that it was actually done at Trinity while I was still there. Or was I still there? No, I don't think I was.
You just snuck in.
No, it was this last year, so I went to go and see it, and so I never saw a professional production of it. Now tell me about this, because I have to admit, having seen it with no offence or put-downs intended to any of my Trinity colleagues who did some spectacular performances, I did not like the show. No. And I did not get why everybody makes such a big fuss about it.
I can see why people make such a big fuss of it, but I don't like it either. Because so this is my first time seeing it, a proper production of it. I knew the music and I knew the story, so it wasn't shocking to me or anything.
And essentially this is one of those dark stories of a slightly authoritarian community.
It's based on a really old play.
Yeah.
To begin with, which is set to... So it's all set in the same time, but when they sing, they do it with microphones to rock music.
To rock music, yes. Yeah. And it's essentially, Spring Awakening, it's a form of sexual awakening, but not conventional. It's very dark. Most people probably know the plot, to be fair. It's not one of those shows that hides around.
Now, I saw the last show they did, so I think it was Saturday evening. And it wasn't sold out, but there's quite a lot of people there. And people around me were just chatting, saying, how did this not last in London before the show started? And then there were obviously people who had been to see the show before. And it's kind of the same, apparently it's the same audience who go to see Anthony rap. So, I think it's kind of the same audience that Rent has.
Right.
In that sense. And the people around me couldn't understand why no one liked it, or why it didn't do well, and I could so obviously see where this show fails. I just don't think it's that, because it's not that shocking to me. Which is one of the main selling points. It's shock factor. It might be relevant for teenagers, so I don't know. I just don't.
My understanding is that it's been watered down a lot from the play. I believe that the play is much darker.
Yeah.
But I found when I saw it, it felt to me. I don't want to use disjointed. That's not quite the right word, but I kind of wondered.
It felt a bit forced.
Yeah. And I wondered why it had been made into a musical, because I don't feel that the music particularly serves the story. I think there's a couple of good songs.
How it expresses their kind of anger to the world, just their kind of inner frustration.
It just, for me, it didn't want to be a show with a beat.
No.
And I kind of felt, the music is very rocky. It's got that undercurrent of sort of drum beats through it, and you sit there kind of tapping your toe, and you think, I do, because I can't help but get into a beat, and I just wanted to know why. Because I didn't want to be tapping my toes. I wanted to be...
You wanted to be moved by the story, not just distracted by the rock music. Yeah. But in all fairness, it was a well put on show. The cast was great, set looked great, costumes great. and everything. So I didn't mind that at all. It's the original, play and the book and what they had to work with. That's my problem. So I did enjoy this production of it. I thought it looked very well done. The choreography, I think, is phenomenal in the show.
Okay.
Really, really good and effectful, and just looked so slick and just worked so well. I thought that was really good. The cast and ensemble was phenomenal. You've got the two older characters, well, two older, an actress and an actor who play all of the grown-up parts, which is a bit interesting. All of them. So I was a bit confused. Is that the headmaster? Is that now the father? Or is that? So I was a bit confused. They could have done a bit more to the costumes or something. So all he did was take off his jacket, and he was another character.
Right.
I didn't know if that was a character taking off the jacket. Other than that, so it's really good production, well done to all of them, and I thought the sound was really good in there. I think it worked really well. Because I've been to see a few shows now that has got mic problems.
It is one of the big Fringe, and actually, this year's Fringe seems to be rife with people who should not be sitting behind sound desks.
Yes.
I have seen several productions now where someone's sung 2 lines of a song before their mic is switched on, or they're coughing backstage and their mic is still switched on, or whatever it happens to be. And serious note to people, get somebody to do your sound who knows what they're doing.
Because that's the most distracting thing. They had a few problems, but overall I think it worked fine. Because I was sat just by the band, which is just a cloth between us, so I had them quite loudly, but I could still hear what everyone was singing, so
Excellent.
that was all fine. So good proper mics as well, not the small tiny ones which seems to just break down all the time. But yes, I think I would give this show, I think I'd give this show a 4-star review, because I thought production value and everything was great, and I have problems with things not particularly to do with this production of it.
Sure.
So, I think, yes, okay, 4 stars, well done. Let's do that.
Okay.
The one I went to see after that is the one I'm really, really excited about, because I went to see An Appointment with the Wicker Man, which I think is genuinely the best thing I've seen this Fringe. I just hope it makes it to London. I just want to go and see it again and again and again. This
is a point where you're going to leave me behind completely, because I have never seen the film of The Wicker Man. We talked about this very briefly in the queue for The Drowsy Chaperone, but I honestly don't have a clue what this is going to be about, so
okay.
Your turn.
Okay. The cult classic The Wicker Man is one of my all-time favourite films. I love it to bits. And I actually tweeted, because I went to a Wicker Man event with the director who's doing a talk at the Prince Charles Cinema in London, and I said, The Wicker Man would actually be a great show, or a great play, or technically musical, because it's got music in it. And then here we are at the Fringe, and I have to say, it's a perfect production. So, do people know The Wicker Man? Do you know The Wicker Man?
Well, personally, no. I know kind of the basic premise of what it's about. I just don't know the story. It's
about a police officer who's a virgin and who's Christian, who goes to this pagan island, his name is Howie, to look for this young girl called Rowan, who's been missing. He's got a letter saying that she's missing, and when he comes to the island is a really weird, proper pagan. And the twist doesn't come until the very end, which I don't know if I should give away or not.
Probably not.
Probably not. The whole film is all about the details and the underlying messages and stuff. And so this production, An Appointment with the Wicker Man, is all about this small play company in Scotland who's putting on The Wicker Man.
A play within a play.
A play within a play. And the first thing, when you come into the theatre, they give you the programmes, which are so funny. It's literally... So they have these fake programs with fake biogs and fake ads, and it's just genius. I was laughing before the show
biogs
started.
Of the actors in the play, as opposed to the actors playing... How do you describe it? The actors, not the actors who are actually you are watching, but the actors they are portraying in the first level of the play.
Yes. Do we get that? Yes.
More or less. I'm sure people have got it.
Yes. I don't know if you get everything if you haven't seen the film. I'm sure you would still enjoy it because it's funny. It's about this really bad play company putting on this kind of cult classic, and the opening scene is a Broadway dance number in a cult classic, which is kind of...
Excellent. So actually this... Just by saying that, you've now... I have to ask this question. How how do you turn something like The Wicker Man into a musical production?
It's not a proper full-on musical, but it has got a fair
It's
bit
got a Broadway
of
dance number at the top of it. It's got to be relatively musical.
Okay, well, it's what happens is that the actor who's supposed to play Rory has mysteriously disappeared, and so they have this new actor come in named Rory, who is a cop on a TV show. So they get in a proper actor into their small company, and it's basically they're mirroring the original story in The Wicker Man of the police coming into their island, and the islands are really weird, so the play people are really weird.
See what they did there.
And this show has, apart from just the normal twist, this one has a twist on a twist and on another twist.
A play with a twist on a twist.
Yes, but I was blown away how clever this show is, and it's got the attention to detail. It's just in the tiniest set pieces, in the tiniest like costume stuff and everything, and it can be a small line, and lighting is perfect, and it's still really creepy. It's still really creepy. The first play, the play we're watching, not the Wicker Man, but their play. It's really,
this is starting to sound like Inception.
It is.
Which level are we on now?
But yeah, I can't rave about this enough. The only slight thing is that by the end of the show, it drags on a bit. Like just go on with it.
How long was it?
I can't remember. About 2 hours, I think.
Okay, but it's not a short 1 hour Fringe production. It's actually a full right.
And it looks, when you first come in, it's like a panto set. It's just so. I can't rave about this enough. It's genuinely, sublimely clever, and the attention to detail is just mind-blowing.
So 1-star review then? No.
I would give this all the stars in the sky, and I hope it makes it to London.
Excellent. It sounds very intriguing. If I knew, is it the kind of thing that somebody? So if I went to go and see the show tomorrow, which I don't think I can, but if I did, would I get it not having seen The Wicker Man? Would it be funny? Would it be clever?
Yes, it is funny.
Or do you need to know the plot?
I think if you've seen the film and know the plot, it's that added element. But I think you can still enjoy it. It's still funny. Because it's a bit kind of panto type humour at points, but they don't overdo anything, and it's. No, I think you would enjoy it if you haven't seen The Wicker Man as well. It's just that added element.
Fair enough. It's nice. I must admit, it's nice to hear of something that's trying to play that kind of that sort of trump card that actually works.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of thing you can bring up to the Fringe and have it fall down around your ears.
No, definitely. And there were so many, because I'm such a huge fan of the original story. So if they would mess this up, I would be, proper annoyed. Like Sweeney, it's the kind of thing, because I know it so well.
Absolutely.
So I had problems with that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, and the fact that they're not just putting on The Wicker Man.
Yeah.
They're doing a play about that. It's just clever. It's really clever. And then as you leave the theatre, you get an actual programme thing with the actual actors and stuff. But that's not until after. So you kind of, because I had a woman sat next to me. It's like, I haven't heard of this TV show, which was in the fake bio. And I was like, well, obviously.
Excellent.
So yes, 5-star, and I hope it makes it to London. And everything about it was phenomenal.
Fantastic.
And everyone should go and see it.
Well done to them. It sounds like a very good show.
Yes. Best thing I've seen all Fringe. And that pretty much concludes my theatre week.
Fair enough.
How about you? What has been your highlight?
Funnily enough, I think that probably actually wraps up mine as well, because everything that I've seen that's musical, I've either discussed with Thos already, in which case it's on our section of the podcast, or it was not musical theatre. I'm seeing a few musicals. I'm seeing 2 today. But actually, since we spoke, apart from the things we've seen together, I've seen magic shows, I've seen a bit of comedy, and I really haven't actually seen much musical theatre in the last 3 or 4 days. I sort of had a spate of it, and I've got another spate of it coming, and a little bit of a dearth in the middle. So that's going to have to be it for me.
Yeah, that's good. But I've really enjoyed the Fringe. It's my first time in Edinburgh, first time at the Fringe, and there's just always something on, and everyone's been friendly and helpful, and there's just this great atmosphere everywhere. There's always someone performing somewhere. And
absolutely. Now, actually, bearing in mind this was your first time at the Fringe, it'd be interesting to know, did you plan everything, because obviously you had all your trouble with your particular journey, which involved having to drop some shows that you'd have been planning to see and so on.
Yes, which is a big shame.
And you had planned everything you were going to see in advance. Now, bearing in mind your plan fell through, were you sold a show on the Fringe, or did you just re-plan? Did anyone come up to you and actually convince you to go and see a show you weren't necessarily thinking of seeing? Not necessarily musical, just in general.
I'm thinking, what have I seen? Now, what I did was, a couple of weeks before, when I just booked my train tickets, I went on the Fringe website and went through every single page under comedy, which is 99 pages of comedians, and musical, which is about 19 pages. Some things really caught my eye that I really want to see, like Company, like The Spelling Bee. So I booked those. Yeah, and then I just kind of tried to organise things. I had a list of potential things I wanted to see, and then when I came here, I would decide. I don't know if I've been sold anything, because I just haven't had the time or the money now because of everything that's happened to really just go randomly to see a show.
Sure.
I'll just try to be as organised as possible to make the most of the Fringe, because I know that it's a bit overwhelming and we've got people.
That it is. When you've got 2,700 shows happening in 3 weeks,
yes.
Well, this is why, listeners, you will hear in November time, for anyone who's interested in bringing a show up to the Fringe next year, I'm actually going to be producing, I think, 2 shows. One talking to sort of the more administrative and venue side of people here, and one talking to one-person show actors about experiences bringing shows to Edinburgh, because it is a very, very overwhelming city to be in for this period. The population of Edinburgh increases by 1 million for the month, which is an enormous number of people. 30-odd thousand of those are performers doing some 3,000 shows, give or take. No, well, not quite 3,000, but I think 2,700 or thereabouts. So yeah, it is. You're absolutely right. It's the right word for it. It's a very overwhelming place to be.
Yeah.
And that's coming from someone who's been up here before. So for someone who hasn't, then it must be exaggerated.
Especially when just coming and having no idea where to go or what to do. But it's been well organised though, apart from a few. Every single show starts late and finishes late. That's fine. That's what you get. But it's been well organised though, and you've got volunteers everywhere, and everyone's been helpful. And it's a bit weird, some venues, because anything can become a venue during the Fringe. You've got the weirdest one is the church that becomes a free burlesque at night.
I think that's probably true, because I mean, the weirdest one up to a point was for me was the fact that a strip club became a venue in the first place, but the fact that there's a church with free burlesque just seems slightly odd. But there you go. Yeah. That is the Fringe for you, and that's absolutely kind of the heart of what this festival is all about. Here's an opportunity for someone to put on some art.
Something for everyone.
It does literally something for everybody, because if you read through that if anyone ever managed to read through every show in that programme and swear blind that there was absolutely nothing in there that they wanted to see, I would eat every piece of clothing I own, let alone just a hat, because I think it's
a very stage of professionalism as well. To be fair, I've seen a few things now that I wouldn't want to review for the podcast for various reasons.
Yeah, understand. Well, I've seen one show now, both of the last 2 years, that I can genuinely consider walking out of.
Yeah.
And I won't say what either one is, but I did see one show last year, and I did see one show this year. I didn't leave because I don't actually like doing that.
No, it's sheer polite.
It's you will be shocked, you will be potentially offended, you will be amazed, you will go through every gamut of emotion possible if you could do, depending on what you choose to see. But it is one of those places that, I mean, actually, I think, not that I intend to use this as product promotion, but See Venue's motto, I can't remember which order it is, but it's vivacious, vibrant variety, or something like that. And I think, actually, that's exactly what the Fringe is. It's a little bit of absolutely everything.
I think it's just organised chaos.
That too, and a fair amount of chaotic chaos as well.
But, I mean, it's I wish I could have stayed for longer, but I think I was here for a good time this year. Next year I'm definitely coming again for longer, and it's good because it's all quite central. All of the venues are quite central, and the most expensive thing I saw, I paid £20 for, I think. Can't remember which one. Oh, it's a comedian. So
yeah, well, Jimmy Carr was $18.50, and you do.
The one I went to see was about £4, I think, £4 or £5.
And that's not taking into account the free Fringe.
No.
Which is, of course, free.
Yeah.
And actually, the free Fringe is I'm very glad to say, gathering ground, because I think a lot of people up here, and even I was guilty of this last year, looked at the free Fringe as, they're putting on a free show because it's. I wonder if they couldn't get people, or if it was, and it's an awful thing to say, it's slightly subpar.
Yeah.
And then I saw one free Fringe show last year just because it was sold to me very well on the mile, and it sounded so bizarre I wanted to know, and it was brilliant.
Yeah.
and it wasn't a musical, so it didn't get reviewed, but or not on this anyway. But don't neglect the Free Fringe. And actually, funnily enough, I saw a poster yesterday for a musical on the Free Fringe, and I'm curious to know how on earth they've managed that, because musical theatre and cheap doesn't really ring true for me. So I'm going to go and see that if I can, if I've got a free day to go and have a look and see what it's actually like.
And when you're on the Fringe, try to see something new, because obviously I went to see Sweeney Todd in a few of those, but try to see stuff you haven't seen.
I mean, Sweeney I saw because it's Sweeney.
Yes.
And therefore, by default, I go and see it. Drowsy I saw because of the reasons I explained about having missed the interview with them with Thos, and I thought it'd be good to have a chat because he obviously liked it.
I was seeing it before as well. So.
They are the only two established shows, I think, I've been to see since I've been up here, and I've seen something in the region of about 30 shows now. So there you have it. Sandra, thank you very much for joining me this morning. And obviously you're heading back later on today.
Yeah. I think I literally just missed my train. I'll take the next one, it's fine.
Oh. God, we've been that long. I didn't realise you were aiming for one this early, sorry.
No, that's all right.
But anyway, glad to hear you enjoyed the Fringe, and hopefully you...
See you next year.
Well, you won't see me.
No, you're
I'll
not
be in
coming
Canada.
back. Yeah.
Well, it's unlikely I'll come back for the first one. I will come back eventually, I am sure, but I look forward to hearing the results of next year. And thank you very much for coming along this morning and having a good old chat. It's been a pleasure as always. And so there you have it, quite the eclectic mix of musicals indeed. Well, I actually managed to speak to a couple of the members of the Sweeney Todd Company after their show, only very briefly as I was shooting off to see something else immediately afterwards. But here's a few moments discussing what it's like to cut that musical to such a size that it fits at the Edinburgh Fringe, and what it's like to then put that version on.
Gemma Smart, and I'm the director of Sweeney Todd.
I'm Dean Graham, and I played Sweeney Todd in Sweeney Todd.
Excellent. So I have just seen this production. It's what many people would consider to be quite a large show to bring up to the Fringe, and it has been shrunk onto a very small stage, very effectively, into an hour and a half. How do you go about taking a show that's this big and managing to compress it into... I mean, I'm not sure the dimensions of your stage, but it looked about 30 feet square, more or less. How do you go about shrinking that down, and what challenges has it provided to both director and actor?
Well, firstly, in terms of actually shrinking the show itself, we had the massive challenge of getting this 3-hour score down to... That was the first step, getting the 3-hour score down to an hour and a half.
And I'm right in... Sorry, I'll just jump in. I'm right in thinking this isn't the student version, is
No,
it? Because in that one, nobody actually gets killed on stage, whereas in here they did many times over.
No, it's the full... Yeah, it's the full version. Basically, we sat down and we went, right, what's important to the narrative and what's not, what moves the story along, which songs are just kind of nice things to look at and listen to. We worked that out, and then we also said what's different to the film, because we don't want people to come and just watch the film on stage, definitely. So that's why we added in, that's why we kept the ballad, that's why we kept the 4-part Kiss Me, things like that.
Yeah.
In terms of shrinking it down, I think that right from the very start I had this idea of it's them telling a story. Sweeney sings a line at the start, what happens next? Well, that's the play, and we wouldn't want it to give it away. So we're not, this isn't he's Sweeney on stage. This is a group of people telling the story to the people that have come to this space to watch it. And I think that in itself is quite an intimate thing to begin with. And I think that gets lost in a lot of the big productions of it. And that's something that I really like about it. It's this troupe of people coming and telling you the story, almost as if they could pack themselves off like to another place and spread it all out and do it again in whatever space they were in.
Sure.
Telling the story. I like that sort of.
I think there's the intimacy of the space. It sort of magnifies that involvement for the audience. I think in terms of the telling of that story, in terms of their kind of presence in the play. And obviously, there's a lot of moments in the play where there is kind of direct address and things like that, and we do talk directly or sing directly to the audience. And I think that it works in that kind of small, intimate space. I think that's one of the great advantages of working in a Fringe space with such an intense musical, I think.
Sure. And one of the things that a lot of people will imagine from Sweeney Todd, because it is almost always done in productions with some scale, is this concept of having how is the barber shop and how is Mrs. Lovett's meat pie shop represented, normally with a 2-level thing on stage and there's a chair up top and people disappear through it. Now obviously you're working on one level here, and you've come up with a rather ingenious method, I think, actually, of getting around that problem and how to kill people on stage and still have the transfer. So do you want to maybe sort of talk about that just for a moment?
Yeah, when I first started reading the play, I think when we first read it, we all took it far too seriously. I think when everyone first reads this play, I think when everyone comes into the show, they're ready to take it very seriously. But I think if you read it as a melodrama, then it changes. It's completely over the top. And I think by being able to suspend belief, like, first you have to be able to... I mean, the story itself is ridiculous, really, isn't it? When you look at it at first, it's about a man who puts people into pies. So once you can accept that and consider that, then you're able to... Being able to suspend your belief helps you then for this to be able to happen, for us to have them next to each other on the stage rather than one above the other.
Sure.
And without blood spraying everywhere, you're able to. And I think those two things, once you realise that it is funny and it's not to be taken too seriously, I think then it can happen. The audience can then be able to and allowed to imagine things are going on and sort of create. It's more in the a lot of it's just they all know they're dying, but it's just imagining it and making it work in your head.
And for those listeners who don't know the show, and why don't you go and see it, Dean, you actually get to play with the humour that Sondheim has put in here, because there are these two fantastic numbers throughout in the first and second acts of the show, where you see him with the judge singing Pretty Women in Act 1, where there's this massive tension building and you think he's about to kill somebody, and then he doesn't. Because he's waiting, he's going along. There's that first gag where he waits, and then, of course, Anthony butts in and interrupts later on. And in the second act, you have this beautiful song that he's singing away, murdering people left, right, and centre. So it must be a fun character to bring to stage.
Oh, it's brilliant, and I think there's so much in it. And I think that one thing that I did worry about, was kind of doing it how it's done, and not really having any sort of challenge. But the more that we kind of worked on it, the more I realised there is so much to play with in this character, and I think that every song that he does can go either way. I think that the sort of the spectrum between the kind of the humour and the really sort of deadly serious aspects of the music is there to play with in the music in the kind of in the way that you deliver it. And I've just had so much fun doing it, really.
Sure.
And, finding where that goes, and I thought I didn't think it was going to be a challenge at first, but actually it turned out to be a great challenge.
Well, he's got a big journey, hasn't he, the character?
Yeah.
Because there is that pivotal moment of the epiphany where his character has to change completely.
Yeah,
and he becomes, in parts, both terrible and also actually quite playful in his character. So there's a lot more to Sweeney, I think, than a lot of people necessarily see on the surface.
We talked a lot about that, didn't we? Kind of the peaks and troughs and the way, even through Epiphany, I think he goes through 4 different stages of mentality of exactly what's
It's a very strange character arc to play with.
Definitely.
We did talk about that a lot, and I'd go to Gemma and be like, Gemma, I do not know how to do this at all. I'm just looking at it, it's up in front of me, and I'm thinking, why is he's mental now, and then he's he's all right there, and how does that work? But as much as that was a nightmare, it's been an amazing challenge, and I've absolutely relished it. I think that's what every actor is really looking for, something to really sink their teeth into, mentally as well.
And being a musical director myself, and an actor as well, it's one of the things that I always notice is in the Epiphany. Yes, you're quite right, you have these stages, but of course Sondheim does give you the music. There must be a help in there, because particularly in the Epiphany, there are so many changes of mood in the music. Yeah. So that's presumably something you take an awful lot from. Yeah, definitely.
I think it's a certain... It's a kind of balance between deciphering the music, I think, and interpreting yourself, if you know what I mean. There's room for both, I think, in there when you're taking it on, which is wonderful, because you find there's these moments where you're like, okay, that is how, for sure, that's how I'm going to be. And then there's other moments where you say, oh, I've got room to change it, to put my own sort of spin on things. So.
Sure. And what about how's the audience received this? Because obviously it's not whatever people have seen before from Sweeney Todd. This isn't something they're going to expect. It's not the student edition. It's not the full show. It's not the film. I was part of quite a comparatively small audience today who seemed to enjoy themselves very much. So how have you gone down over the Fringe?
Well, really well, actually. We're really, really happy with the response we've had. And it's just odd, some nights an audience will come in and they'll be laughing from start to finish. Other audiences, deadpan. Sometimes, and you say... I had a conversation with one woman, I said, oh, some people laugh. And she went, oh, it's definitely not a laughing matter. And I sort of went, oh, well, it it is a comedy, but
The fact of it isn't, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I'd rather miss the point of the show. I think.
yeah. So I think, yeah, but we've really, really been happy with like the response that we've had, and I think that it's good if people can take it in whatever way they want, as long as they enjoy it. Then I suppose
There's a certain
that's
like,
what you
audience
can-
mentality as well, and I think it's the same in a lot of shows where if someone laughs, like the rest of the audience might feel like they're able to laugh as well,
Yes.
and if someone claps, they feel like they're able to clap and things like that. And yeah, I think we've had a lot of that, those up and downs, but and it's hard to kind of judge when you're on stage whether they are enjoying it or not. But I think that generally that people have really, really enjoyed it. So I'm super happy with the response so far.
Good. And do you get applause throughout the show? Because tonight you didn't get anything, and there were points where I was going to clap because I know the show, and there was a little pause, and everyone just sat there kind of watching. And you do run music together quite quickly, but there were points where you felt we could have applauded.
I
there.
think sometimes I always think that if people clap after the ballad, then people will clap the whole way through.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then sometimes, some nights, people will just clap after Little Priest and God That's Good, and that's it. And then other nights like tonight, you just don't get
Curtain call, and that's it.
anyone applauding. I don't know, it's just a different...
I think it was interesting because it's the first time I've seen Sweeney Todd and not had applause, and in a way, it stops you being pulled too far out of the story. Because it was just running together, which is nice, and you do get those moments sometimes where there's a sort of freeze frame on stage while people clap away. And just very quickly, a little bit about your company, because obviously you're quite a young company on the whole, and there are youth people playing sort of older characters and things. So who are you?
We're the Lincoln Company, and we're from the University of Lincoln. We're comprised of students from all 3 years of the drama course and dance as well, and graduates. We've got some graduates as well. And this is our 5th year. I think the Lincoln Company's 5th year at the Fringe. 4th?
No, it's definitely not 4th. 5th or 6th.
5th or 6th year. And every year we just keep revitalising the company. New people come, like old people come back, and we keep putting on shows, and we always hear and see venues, and we're getting quite a good reputation. And this year we've got a real variety of shows. We've got 6 shows.
Wow.
Yeah, we've got this, and we've just had a dance show which has just finished.
Okay.
And we've got a stand-up comedy show. We've got 2 pieces of new writing, one of which is an adaptation of Bouchner's Léonce and Lena, and Dean has written a play, Leather.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah, which we were at the International Student Drama Festival with this year. And
Excellent.
we've brought that up.
10:25 at C Nova. Around to see it.
Yeah. And we've also got Captain Codless and the Legend of Plunge Island, which is a children's show.
Spectacular variety.
Yeah,
Actually, there you go. Vivacious, vibrant, and variety, which is C's motto, encompassed in one company.
Exactly.
Well, may I say, very well done. I must
Thank
close
you.
there because I need to run off and see another show. But I really enjoyed that, and good luck for the rest of your run.
Thank you
Thank
very
you very
much.
Sweeney Todd. Very different indeed from the recent West End production, but a pretty good attempt for something that's actually a real challenge to take to an Edinburgh Fringe show. Well, you've heard me name the last musical I'm going to discuss before. If it weren't for Newland, this would have gained my musical talk large-scale show pick of the Fringe. But that is no discredit to the people you were about to hear from, all 6 of them in this particular case. They put on a wonderful show, and one which I hope will gain traction now that Edinburgh is done. It would be a great shame to put this show to bed any time soon, and as you will shortly discover, my choice of words there was not arbitrary. They have very kindly permitted us to use a couple of the songs from their demo recording, and I'm going to let the first of them tell you exactly what is coming. The next section of this show should probably carry a rather large parental warning for its subject matter.
Welcome little boys and welcome little girls to our sex education class. We know it's a pain in the ass and you'd like to give it a pass, but we promise that won't last. It's important for everyone to talk. It's important for everyone to share. It's important for everyone to know each other. It's important for everyone to care. 'Cause it's lovely when everyone talks, and it's lovely when everyone shares, and it's lovely when everyone knows each other, and it's lovely, yes, it's lovely when everyone cares. So let's puberty, condom swallowing too. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk prep for your hot date. If your period is late, where is your bomb and what's in its cup? The bearded clam and using your hands, a hanging bow, and spit versus swallow. No glove, no love, and when push comes to shove, sex could kill you, they say, but it's all okay. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about shagging. Let's talk about the guns and making of that great gift from above. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about babies. Let's talk STIs and let's talk rabies. Puberty, condom swallowing too. Let's talk about sex. Puberty, condom swallowing too. Let's talk about sex. Puberty, 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 condom. Puberty, 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 swallow. Puberty, 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 condom. Puberty, 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 swallow. Swallow, swallow. Let's talk about sex.
Okay, we're starting with me. My name is Emily Snee. I'm a writer and producer and actor for the show, in the show, etc.
Yes, I am Nicola Cartwright and I'm the director of Sex Ed the Musical and these lovely people.
I'm Elizabeth Hartley and I'm an actor. I play the piano in the show as well.
I'm Isabel Wolfe and I'm also the writer, producer and actor of Sex Ed the Musical.
I'm Tom Quinn, I play Gilbert in Sex Ed the Musical.
And I'm Charlotte Saville and I play Gladys.
Your friend.
Excellent. That's fine, right? I can now ignore that unless the little orange light goes off, which is fine. So yes, as we have established during the course of those introductions, we are here talking about Sex Ed the Musical. I don't think I really need to ask for the listener's benefit precisely what it's about, but a rough précis of the storyline that you've got, perhaps.
Well, basically it's about a boy, Gilbert, and a girl, Gladys, who have just turned 16, and they kind of meet and become involved with one another, and then are coached through the whole awkward process of becoming more involved with each other by their 5 quite strange sex ed teachers.
A variety of characters on stage, to put it very mildly, with their own social awkwardnesses and so on. I suppose the first question which I've been dying to ask, and I've saved it deliberately for this, is how on earth did you come up with this as a concept?
For a while I'd been thinking about kind of Fringe generally and kind of what works on Fringe. And basically I grew up in Vancouver, there's a Fringe festival there, and one year there was a zombie apocalypse musical that was on, and all the reviews panned it, and everyone I talked to said it was absolutely awful and that I shouldn't see it. And I still wanted to go and see it, because it was a zombie apocalypse musical. And I was like, you can't not see a musical that's about the zombie apocalypse, I have to see it for myself. And so then I started thinking about that, and was like, that's quite a clever business kind of way to go with something that like you have to see, even if it's terrible, because you're curious. So then I kind of started thinking about the whole musical side of it, and also sex always seems to sell on Fringe. So that was kind of the start of it.
We should probably add a disclaimer at this point to say that Sex Ed the Musical is not terrible. Just so you don't get the wrong bit of that particular conversation. Yeah. It's actually a very good show, which I saw day before yesterday now, I think. It's the Edinburgh Fringe. Time blur. It's an absolute... Time is illusion. Lunchtime doubly so. Kudos if you get the credit. So, you came up with this idea how long ago?
About 3 years ago. Was the first idea of it. Yeah, just before I started drama school. And then,
it was
second year.
Yeah, a year later, Emily came to me and said, I've got this idea for a musical about sex education. Do you want to write it together? And I thought, because it sounds brilliant.
Yeah,
and that was the
start of the partnership.
That was 2 years ago. About.
And you dragged us down with you.
And the plan was always Edinburgh Fringe?
Not originally. It was kind of just like, let's write a show that's designed for Fringe and see where it goes. And originally we kind of focused a lot more on writing songs, because I didn't, especially writing musicals, like I'd written my own songs for a long time before that, but I'd never written anything like songs for musicals. And so I was just kind of like, can I actually do this and be funny at the same time? So it kind of started as like a collection of songs, about like 10 or 11 songs that we wrote, and we kind of showcased them in like a kind of cabaret-ish thing. Most of the cast that we have now.
I was one of the audience in the first time.
And kind of showcased that, and we got way more positive responses than we expected to the extent that like the tutors at our university started kind of going, okay, you need to copyright this, and you like kind of started giving us business advice, and were like, if you do this right, this kind of stuff could create like a base income for you for the rest of your life, so get on it. So then we were like, okay, well, we should probably make this a better show and extend it, and kind of like create a company and like do this whole kind of legally sound kind of thing. So yeah.
How was the split of the writing done?
It was we both do most of it together, but initially I'm a much more, I've had a lot more experience in music, and that was
a lot more experience with scripts.
So we tended to we would sort of come up with lyrics, write the lyrics together, and then think about melody together and discuss kind of the style that we wanted it to be, and then I would go away and write it up into a more cohesive actual musical form. So that's how it tended to work, and that's pretty much how it still works.
As we go on, we kind of, both of us have gotten more involved on the other side. Like I've learned way more about music from doing this.
And me the same with script writing. I had no script
kind of
writing.
Initially it was much more separate than it is now, and kind of both of us understand a lot more about the whole kind of creation of musical in general. So we've kind of become work together on more elements, but generally it's like I'm kind of more script
and I'm more music,
but it's relatively even.
Indeed. And Nicola, how did you get involved in the show? Was it obviously, presumably, while you were at college still?
Yes, because I was actually on the same course as these guys, all doing the same acting. However,
I should probably say, we haven't actually said this point yet. This is a group of people, all of whom went to East 15, down in Southend-on-Sea.
All on BA World Performance. Just get a little shout out there.
Was that World Performance?
World Performance, no, it's a new course, so we're still forging our path through. But I mean, because these guys, like I said, they did the sort of more cabaret style of it this time, over a year, last June? But obviously, like I said, they had a great response from it, and so wanted to do it properly, and then that's when myself and Tom got drafted in, because we needed a boy, and because they made the show, extended the show, made it longer, and obviously both of them are in it. It was good to have an outside eye, and because I've already expressed at university an interest of directing, so they asked me whether I thought maybe I could help in some way. So they asked me if I'd come along, and sort of that started last September, and I've been directing ever since. Loosely based, but no. At least been watching it ever since last September. That's when I got involved. So a bit later than everyone else, but I came along.
And I have to say, in this entire project, it takes a fair bit of gumption to go up on stage and do what you guys do. And obviously, Nicola, you're the only one who's not on stage for this, so everybody in this room, writers included, just to remind everybody, is on stage for this production. How was it received when it first came into being? Because obviously then it was less, as you said, less crafted, less moulded. It was just a presentation of his stuff. It wouldn't have had, presumably, the polished edges that it's actually got now, which have actually formed it into a really coherent musical, even amongst its oddities and sort of crazy characters. So how was it received when it first came into being?
When we first, we've got a lot more adventurous as time has gone on.
Right.
We sort of tested the water. So our first set of songs, it was much more kind of puberty, anatomy, this kind of safer subjects, and then the songs that came along later were the kinky sex and things like that, and those kind of
not just in subject matter as well. Like we kind of have like three, I guess now, sets of songs that we've written at various different points, and like I think I can definitely tell which are from which. Like between subject matter and style, I think our musical style has definitely gotten more adventurous and more complex as we've gone on.
And I think also as the more we rehearsed with it as well, the writing kind of came with the character. Our characters came from the kind of devising rehearsal process, and then the script would adapt with that, so they kind of both grew together from the very first script.
Like there's stuff that in previous kind of shows or whatever has been improvised by the cast, and we've been like, oh, I really like that, let's just put that in, like, we'll keep it. So I definitely think,
good way to work, really.
I definitely think that, especially with the script, like, it's as much a kind of baby of the cast as it is of us too, because so much of it.
Also a lot of audience input as well. I know we had question and answer sessions after the very first run, in which actually I was playing one of the teacher type people. It was all just we were all loosely teachers. I think at the very beginning I thought, oh no, I don't know whether I'm comfortable with doing this, and then as soon as we did get the audience reaction of actually this is really good, it sort of gained confidence. I mean, I was humping a piano at one point during the first run,
and I was a pianist. So
you mean that's not normal?
No, apparently not.
Yeah, I think that we got encouraged. I was very surprised by how much people love how open we are and how honest we are, and how we will go that extra mile and talk about things because everyone wants to hear it. You know, it's that thing of there's this fascination and everyone wants to hear it, and it's almost like you can't quite go too far because they're always like, yeah, give me more, and they love the fact that we are, because it's that thing of, especially with British people, we tend to play down sex and subjects about sex a lot, and it's a weird societal thing, but they love. People always come up to us and say, I learned so much, or I love how open you were about this, I love how you discuss that because no one talks about that, and it affects me or it affects someone I know, and I really like that you talked about it. And I think that instantly gets people on side because they can always relate to something, and we go far enough that we can always touch with certain people. There's always something for them to relate to.
Well, and also to some extent, like, I'm so used to this show now that there are some parts of it that it's like I don't think of them as shocking. Like the vast majority of the show, I'm like, yeah, this is just normal. Like, people, it's not a big deal. And like, because obviously we're performing in this show, it's quite like an out, I suppose, sex-wise and talking about sex, it's quite out there. But to me, I've gotten so used to it that it's like, it's not a big deal, and so like we as a cast have conversations that most people probably wouldn't. But it's like whatever, because like you get used to it, and it's like you kind of to some extent get a bit desensitized to it. So like today after the show we had someone coming up to us and was like, oh my god, there's so much stuff in there that like it's really good that you talk about because no one talks about it, and I'm like, oh yeah, no one talks about this. We does
all the time.
Yes, because we're used to it, it's not that shocking anymore.
It really, really, really mirrors the confidence that you guys put in, because this is the kind of thing where if the confidence wasn't there, that's when the audience would feel awkward. That's when you would feel awkward as well. And it's the fact that you really do throw yourselves into this with complete abandon. It's actually what carries this show so far forward.
At a graduation, we went down to shake hands with the Chancellor, and your face was on the big screen. He said, in front of everyone, he said, what are you taking up to a fringe then? And I said, Sex Ed the musical, and his face just he looked so confused. And I winked at him and said, see you there. Which greatly amused my grandfather that was watching a live stream version at home on the internet.
That's hilarious. Yeah, we have no boundaries anymore.
Yeah, no.
Strangers don't judge.
Shameless is the word.
I was going to say we've lost all shame.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, much as I will refrain from commenting on your social lives at this point in time, I think that actually says an awful lot towards, as I say, what you've put into this show, because this is a very, very confident production, and that's one of the things that really you can't miss, because there's the characters are so well realised, and you don't always get that at Fringe shows. You get people coming on and the expression and the words that they're saying don't match. And that's not something that I don't think any of you could actually be accused of, because in all cases it's very much...
I think it's important because with stuff like this it can be so in your face and rude and vulgar if it's done, and it needs to be done in a comforting way for the audience. And if you've got characters you can't relate to that throw it in your face, you just get desensitised and you don't want to listen. So I think we've tried to create an atmosphere where you want to listen, and it's it's a bit naughty and a bit cheeky rather than vulgar and disgusting. Although at points it can be.
What you've also got is you've got all of these people with their individual problems, but every problem is just an exaggeration of what could really happen to anyone. Essentially.
Yeah.
And some problems, I mean, to a certain extent, the whole pregnancy thing, 15 children or whatever it might be slightly excessive for nowadays, sort of, the modern culture, but the whole fed up of pregnancy thing isn't necessarily alien to anything else. Or, in many ways, you two are the most...
We're sort of like the grounding...
Yeah, I was going to say normal and then realised that's just not the right word. But normal.
I suppose it's the thing that people can maybe relate to.
Yeah.
Because most people have been in that position of experiencing their first time or falling in love with somebody. And I suppose, that's... the majority of people there can see something similar to maybe what they've been through,
and I think the way they play it as well is we're all the kind of the way we act, and I think that has something to do with the fact that we were on a course that didn't go for just kind of straight acting method kind of. Well, the way we act is all kind of quite absurd, and it's like it's honest, but in a kind of they're a very rounded, very big character that you might not necessarily meet in everyday life, but I think I know people like this. Yeah. I know people like Gilbert and Gladys, and they're still obviously they're kind of heightened versions.
So we just missed the dirty dance with Charlotte Savile now.
But I think they're maybe less heightened and more naturalistic than the teachers.
Well, and also
which
I think like
important.
Gilbert and Gladys are the only ones who really get to be awkward out of all the characters, because partly because they're slightly less insane than the rest of them, and also because they're younger. Like there's this kind of like inexperienced thing, which at some point everyone has, because like there's always something that someone hasn't tried, so it's awkward kind of thing. But like they're the characters.
We're sort of like a middle ground between the audience looking in on and the crazy teachers themselves.
That in itself is a question, because what's it like for you two? Because obviously you don't have the mask, if you like, of a completely batty character. You are comparatively normal, and therefore in a way almost more vulnerable in this kind of situation as actors, because you don't have that you're less obviously not yourselves, whereas these guys are all, one would presume, are nothing like the characters they play on stage. You guys are exaggerated regular people, which is closer to home. So what's that been like playing that? Because obviously especially for you, Charlotte, because you've not had, where you've played the teacher before, now dropping back to play the innocent, well, not so innocent, but the apprentice, if you like, the one who's learning.
I've quite enjoyed it because playing a younger character, a not so experienced, slut or put it, kindly, mother of 17 kids or however many, to play something that's more like me is easier, I suppose. But then not being able to hide behind the mask of I am such an exaggerated character, I suppose it's trying to find the balance of not being too naturalistic and not being too over the top. That's the tricky way to find. Sometimes I think, because obviously these teachers are getting so many laughs, they're so funny, they're so exaggerated. Sometimes I feel that I maybe try and exaggerate my character a bit too much. But at the same time, I don't want there to be a complete contrast between the two types of characters. So, but then having someone else, having Tom as well playing a similar role, I think we aid each other.
We tend to try and like match each other when we're going onto stage and things, don't we? It's strange because it can be very easy for us to go into like a caricature and just sort of come up in the same level of craziness as the rest of them. I don't know where I'm going with this.
But I think it's the withheld nature that makes the characters funny.
Yeah, I think it's like the straight man in the kind of in this comedy relationship. Without you, we would just be
crazy
funny.
I tell you what, though, it's hard keeping a straight face. It's so hard.
I think that's when it comes up with funny lines or funny songs sometimes, and then you get a laugh and you're almost like taken aback. It's like, I forgot that.
Well, also, it's one of those things of like a lot of the time. Like I think the two kinds of characters really contrast each other, but then also so that makes it funny, but also like when it's just Gladys and Gilbert, it's really, really funny because it's far more naturalistic. But stuff like the Gilbert moment when he's like leaving and he's like, fine, well then I'll never see you again. Except like around at the supermarket or the optician. And
Well,
it's
today we had the marina. Like a school
marina.
The well-known Edinburgh marina.
But it's like, yeah, stuff like that is, and then also same with the teachers. Like there's stuff that's hilarious that happens between them because they're so ridiculous. Like the whole Glenda and having no clue that it's possible to get pregnant on a full moon and stuff like that. It's like it's unbelievably stupid, and only those characters. Like if there was a contrast there, it wouldn't be as funny because then it would just be strange. But like, yeah, they kind of really hate each other in that way.
Is there an awful lot of ad-libbing going on?
Yes.
Having only seen it once, you don't know.
It changes constantly.
Yeah. It's more for... Well, we have, because obviously it's been going on for a while now, and the amount of rehearsals we've done. Every you know what, it makes it more fun, especially being at the back, not having any control. On stage, they go on, and every day some things are different. We have every day things change a little bit.
Last night, Lizzie came out with, I thought I'd given birth, and then I just realised it was a big poo.
Do try not to be. I'm not even on stage. I'm at the back, like peeing myself, and these poor guys have to be like.
Today there was breast milk in the cocoa box.
That was a good one.
Yeah, and also it's like random stuff that goes wrong. Like the other day, Lizzie couldn't get her words out.
Yeah.
And someone was alright, and then she was like, I have been drinking. There are little things. And also because we're really good at covering each other as well, but then there are so many things. Bethan, particularly, who plays Barbara, ad-libs constantly.
She's cruel. She ad-libs so much. She's so funny.
I think that's a good compliment for the actors because they get so comfortable. Nothing's ad-libbed to the point of the plot changes and we just change songs. But odds that happen. But that was another performance we're not going to go into. But I think it's a good. The actors are so comfortable with each other and with what they're doing that they feel. Comfortable enough that they can go. And so and it keeps it fresh every night for them, and it's a bit more fun. And it's fun to watch.
I think you're right because we've trained together. We know each other so well. We're so comfortable.
That that you're not going to go.
Well, and it's just saying that I'm as not that I'm saying I'd be comfortable knowing that I'm fucked up, but it's like to some extent there's a level of like. I'm going to try and get everything right, but even if something does go slightly wrong, it's okay, because either I'll cover it or someone else will cover it, and like something will make it okay, and it's like, it's great, because it's probably one of the casts that I've had like the biggest level of trust with, and like I know the show will work out and it'll be okay,
like today,
because, like, we're all really good coverers.
The electric piano switched off, I don't know, hit it with my bum or something probably. And then it was the beginning of your song, Izzy, and you're like, and it was a really quick cue, and I started playing. It was like, dude, nothing is happening. And then Izzy covered it. She's like, come on, I want you to sing now. Start playing. I was like, fumble, go. Thank goodness they're frumpy characters anyway.
That does let you get away with laughs. Like in fairness, they're all a bit mad. So if something does go a bit strange, and Hildegard does turn around and go, I have been drinking. You're like, the pregnant lady has been drinking. It's like, you're not.
I believe that.
It's
But sometimes I think she has.
I believe it.
I want to talk about slightly more than just the show itself, but I think just general impression of the show as far as I'm concerned. And I quite like being able to sort of say this kind of stuff to you rather than doing the little review behind doors. Do you know what I mean? It's the nice thing about reviewing in this fashion. But I think what's great about this is that it's quite simple in terms of the concept.
Like us.
It's well, I wasn't going to say that. I jest. Actually, what's nice about it is most things are quite simple. The accompaniment to the music, most of the time, is quite simple. And to break it down into nice, simple terms, with no derogatory meaning at all, it's quite a plonky accompaniment.
Yeah.
And it is very, very simple. But over that, you've got this very complex musical score, which I actually think is really, really good. And great harmonisers. Actually, that's one of the things that really impressed me yesterday. One, the harmonic writing in the vocal lines, I think, is absolutely fantastic. but 2, the group as a whole sounds really good. And you've actually got a real winner here on the group of voices that you've got together. Because they all work. And there's no one feels out of place. You know, there was no... I think the only point where I couldn't hear somebody was... I can't even remember who the two characters were, but where there was somebody on both sides of the stage.
That would be Yumi, yeah.
And the only reason being, I was sat stage left. And so I got stage left blasted at me and stage right was somewhere over there. But that's what you expect for that. You know, it's not a professionally amped and mic'd company. You're not going to get the balance of sound. You don't expect it. And that's the only time, I think, in the whole show I couldn't hear what somebody was singing. Which, again, is not something you can always say about Fringe shows. Quite often people disappear into the ether somewhere. And
I think that's just credit for our training and things as well. We've just had such a strong musical background, especially in our first year of studying. There's just it gives us that big grounding of
now that's an
things.
interesting comment to me, because I actually did a summer course at East 15 for 3 weeks in the Loughton campus back in 2008, and at the time one of the reasons I didn't audition for East 15 was that there wasn't enough music. I think it was like a 1-2 hour, well, even on, this was on the acting course certainly, obviously this one presumably didn't exist, you said it's a new course.
It didn't
But it was 1-2 hour singing lesson a week or something like that, which for someone who's a musical theatre nut just wasn't enough for me to audition, so there is a lot of music in this.
On our course, we, especially for the first year, we had 6 hours of music a week.
We had a 2-hour lecture and a 4-hour practical class.
Okay.
We did get more than anybody else, which did really benefit us. But also we would learn in our sort of African dance lessons or something like that, we would be maybe playing the drums for a bit. So there was a lot of learning different styles.
Okay.
And also a lot of the... We were very lucky on our course in terms of we have a lot of very musical people anyway.
Sure.
And that was the point that I
We did, I mean, it was, I think it's, a lot of it stemmed from, in our course there's a heavy focus on devising and creating your own work, which is part of where this all has stemmed from, but music has always played a massive feature in all people's devised pieces, and it's been... it's always been a vital part of the show. So everyone's always been, this has to be right, you have to be heard, it has to be clear. And I think that's always very prominent in everyone's minds, that's one of the most important things, because music is so integral, and we've always been taught that it's so much. It's not separate, it's not music and acting, it's not music. And everything is just one big... mixed together, and it's vital to get that right.
That makes me an extremely happy man, because I must admit I really liked East 15, and actually where I used to live it was only 20 minutes down the road from me, but obviously I was turned off by the lack of music. So future musical theatre people, bear in mind East 15 has it in a global thing as well, which again is good because you've got multiple styles in this show of music. And it was interesting. It's one of the other things I was going to ask, but you've answered it now, which was where the sort of idea came for having the sort of Latin-y bits, and because it's very. You've got simpler. I haven't actually mentioned this for the listeners' benefit. You've got piano, guitar, and ukulele playing throughout the show, and it does change its style quite frequently, and that's credit to it as well, because obviously it keeps the whole thing interesting. But I'm really pleased to hear that, because obviously to have such a strong musical come out of East 15. With no disrespect to East 15 at all, surprised me. Because it wasn't, I don't see them as... We don't have
musical theatre course.
No.
It's an act.
But it's the multi... And to be fair, I think in musical theatre I would say the most important thing is the acting anyway. Because you can't dance or tell a story while you're singing if you can't act it at the same time. So it's good, it's great to see that as crossed over. And then I suppose, before this goes on for too long, we should probably talk about the Fringe experience as well, because that's obviously such an integral part of what being here is. I mean, there's 7 of us sitting in a kitchen. I think the only way you could fit anybody else in here would be to put them in the oven.
And we're hungry, so...
We're hungry, which I should also hurry up. This is not the superstar actor lifestyle. The Edinburgh Fringe is not about that. And I think, if anybody's been here, they must know that, because anybody who is a performer is out on the Royal Mile. You've got to sing for an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it is that evening, and yet you spend 4 hours out on a cold and rainy street bellowing at the top of your
lives for drinking champagne and eating caviar.
I wish. So what... Edinburgh experience.
What's
it?
8 of us in a 3-bed house.
At
to
the moment,
start
there's
off.
currently
with
10.
one toilet. I will not let this go.
She had bad experience.
No, I know it's really lowbrow. Not that the Sex of the Musical is really highbrow, but the fact that when you are in Edinburgh, you need to check your toilet places at all times, especially if you're
flyering.
If you're flying for a long time. Starbucks.
This is
Starbucks haven't kicked me out yet.
I think if you're talking about the Starbucks at the bottom of the Royal Mile, I think they've just given up. Because that's one of the targets.
Yeah.
I think, in fact, the only place I think I've ever seen anyone be questioned about going to the loo is the Albernac pub, but then that's slightly more up. Bearing in mind it's a pub. I say pub, everybody in London thinks of like a Wetherspoons or something, but it's actually it's a really nice pub, and I recommend anyone go eat there. It's really nice. No, seriously. But that's the only place I've ever seen anyone get kicked out for going into the loo, because it is, you do have to think about these things, especially when you're running around wearing a lycra suit. That's another story. We're not here to talk about me. But yeah, so yes, that is obviously.
Sorry, I just had to get that.
No,
off my chest. My chest. I feel better now.
This is one of those, but you do have to think about that. Can you have, can you bring your company of 15 people up to that flat and still manage with one bathroom?
I think one of our great things, actually, being in the Fringe, our biggest publicity stunt at the moment is a 6-foot sperm called
16 foot.
16-foot sperm's grown. Used to be 6. No. Called Big Simon to repeat through the cough. And he's been great at getting us noticed. People come up to us and go, "You're the giant sperm people." Like, yeah, we are.
Or a giant tadpole if you're under 16.
Under 16's a giant tadpole.
Or worm. Depending on the parents' mood.
And that is, I have borne witness to myself already 2 or 3 amazing instances of 4-year-old child coming up absolutely fascinated by a 16-foot sperm, which makes for some rather entertaining diversions, I must say.
It would happen nowhere else.
I think one of my favourites was we had a group of girl guides. A group of girls, about 20 of them. They must have been like 13 or so, and they came up to us and were like, "Can we have a picture?" And so their leader kind of took a picture with them, and then I turned around and was like, "Does anyone want a sticker?" Because I didn't think about the fact that there's this group of a bunch of people, and they were asking about the stickers. Okay, you can have stickers. And their leader was genuinely turned around and was like, "Seriously? Really?"
These stickers have a small version of Simon and the sperm.
I was a girl guide, and we used to find lots of scouts, so...
That's girl guides in Croydon for you.
That's true.
But that has to be up there with the all-time advertising tactics. Let's face it.
We were in a review.
Chortle. We were in Chortle as one of the 10 publicity stunts at the Fringe, which came out, which was good fun.
And catchiest titles, did we have?
And top 25 catchiest titles from What's on Stage as well. But I think it's overwhelming when you get to the Royal Mile, because when you're going to come up, you hear this number in your head of, there's 2,700 shows, and that's not a number that you can translate into an idea of how many people are up there and how many shows are going on. You just can't imagine it in your head before you get here, and it's that thing of it's horrifying and amazing at the same time, because you think, oh my god, how are we ever going to get anyone in to see this when there's so much competition? But at the same time, it's the most incredible place to be as a theatre maker.
Absolutely.
Because the people you meet on every single day, you meet different people, and you see and you learn so much from different companies and different shows that you go and see. And I think that's, I would say that any person who wants to be an actor, director, theatre maker, technician, anything, must do the Edinburgh Fringe, because it's a baptism of fire. You're working so hard all the time. You don't get days off. You have to be out, and you have to do all the things that you forget about with shows. You have to do the marketing and the publicity yourself. You have to feed everyone, so you have to make time.
The giants.
You have to do all these things, even cooking. You have to make sure you've made this time for all these things that you totally forget about. And I think it's so important to come up here and get an experience of doing that, because you get. So you live in the lap of luxury when you're just kind of doing a show in a theatre and everything's done for you, and you just rock up, do your rehearsals, go home, and that's it. And I think it's it's just a fantastic
You learn a lot more than just being.
Yeah.
And the weather's been quite good, which I'm really
Touch wood, please.
That's Edinburgh finish now. Flood down the Royal Miles.
For the next
That's Big Simon ruin.
Yeah.
It has actually, but you are right. We're on now
Very lucky.
the 9th of August.
Yeah,
if my
I think
memory
so.
serves. I've been up here since the 1st.
Yeah, same.
And we've had one day where we've had torrential rain and about 2 little showers, which is a small miracle, really.
It's been beautiful, really sunny.
Especially with July, that was awful weather in July.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed we hold that because, actually, both of our advertising tactics will go down.
Yeah,
It starts getting too wet. But no, and I think that for our listeners' benefit, because it's something I've not heard Thoffs mention on this podcast before, if you imagine what Leicester Square looks like when there's a premiere going, a movie premiere going on, and then make that 1 mile long.
Not just for sex ed.
That's what the Royal Mile looks like, and that is on a proper day. We've had a few quiet days, but today was, for me, based on last year's experience, today was the first quote-unquote proper day where it actually felt populated. That's what the Royal Mile's like, and that is how hard it is to get, with the occasional break where there's some random performance art company just lying in odd positions on the floor.
You do actually have dancing with black lipstick on.
You do actually have to be incredibly careful not to tread on actors when you're up here. It's very easy to do.
Especially when in a giant firm.
Have peripheral vision.
This I can or only have peripheral. This is very true. And obviously you've also been doing very well in numbers.
Yes.
You've got an auditorium of 167.
Yes, that's right.
And you've had, the highest count I heard was 96 or something
Yes,
like that.
that's been our highest number.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's already, essentially
On day
2/3?
6 or something of shows?
Well, a bit more, no.
Yeah.
60% full?
Yeah.
Which is really good for an auditorium like that so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's our 6th show today, so we're hoping to, just go up and up with every show. But
Well, it's being talked about. I mean, I'm hearing it talked about a lot while I'm out and about, and
that's nice to know.
which is good. So
encouraging.
you're obviously making an impact. And you were saying you were in the Telegraph today, which is
Yes.
great.
Yeah, that's great.
Very odd.
Yes.
But there you go. If you open the Telegraph and you see a big sperm, I'm talking to the people who created it. Which, when you're in a room full of girls, is a really odd thing to say. No,
there is
one guy here, but predominantly girls.
I was going to say it's great for the male company. I'm just
It's a very odd sentence to come out with. But there we go. Well, I think we'll sort of wrap it up there because I've been rambling on for quite some time and you all need to eat. But fingers crossed, this is going to do really well. It's a fantastic show. I will urge people to go and see it if it goes anywhere else, because I know for a fact that now, unfortunately, that this will not be going out while Edinburgh is still active. But yes, if you ever hear of this show again, go and see it. It's great. Actually, I'd be very sort of surprised if you guys don't have a good few sellout shows. I'll be frank about that.
But for the listeners, they can follow us via social media.
Yeah,
yes, go. That was my next question, actually. So go ahead and
we're on Twitter. If you search Sex Ed the Musical, we're there. Also, you can follow the company Outright Productions. Our Twitter handle is Outright Pro. Right is in physically right, like a letter.
Yes.
And you can also find the company Sex Ed the Musical on Facebook. We have Facebook pages.
Yeah.
And we do have our own website if you type it into any search engine.
Yeah, if you just Google Sex Ed or Outright
or
Productions,
any other
they'll come
search
up.
engine.
Other search
all
engines
brilliant.
as well. Not just Google.
I'm not sponsored by Google, but if you want to,
You can also follow me. My Twitter name is @CharlieSaville, and I want more followers.
so shameless. She just fist pumped.
That happened.
there is a very smug-looking girl in the room right now, and rightly so. Well done. Well, this is what the Fringe is all about.
It'll be cut out.
Get your word in when you can.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true. And while you're at it, why not follow at I am Mr. Millennium as well? No.
Harley 13.
No, before we start sort of giving out all our personal details on the radio, I shall bring that interview to a close. So thank you very much, guys, for
Thank you.
talking to me.
Come in.
Good luck with the rest of the run, which will be finished by the time this goes out. That seems like a very odd thing to say.
Yeah.
But I hope it goes really well, and I hope it goes somewhere in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Your bodies are changing, but that's okay. Don't worry, 'cause it happens to us all. are changing, but that's okay. Don't worry, 'cause it happens to us all someday.
Wake up one morning and start to scream. There are new hairs where there never have been. It's different from all of the hair on your head. It's short, dark and wavy, almost gingery red.
Your bodies are changing, but that's okay. Don't worry, 'cause it happens to us all someday.
You wake up one morning, wanna kill your own mom. It's called PMT and it's really not fun. You're in agony and there's blood everywhere. So throw on some trackies and tie back your hair.
Your bodies are changing, but that's okay. Don't worry, 'cause it happens to us all someday.
Wake up one morning and notice something strange. Your body has gone through a worrying change. Your penis was flaccid during your bedtime story, but now it bursts forth with a sweet morning glory.
Your bodies are changing, but that's okay. Don't worry, 'cause it happens to us all someday.
Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, oh no. Unless it burns when you pee, and it burns when you pee, and it burns when I pee.
Sex Ed the Musical. I think only in Edinburgh could you ever expect to see a 16-foot sperm walking down the high street. I have to admit, my one regret is that Mr. Millennium and Big Simon never got a photograph together. I'm rather kicking myself for that now. Anyway, that second song that you heard there was Changing Bodies, and that's from their demo recording, so don't forget, obviously, that was the musical in its very early stages, although I think you'll agree it still sounds rather good fun. Well, that's about it from me for the Edinburgh Fringe. I did see a few other musicals, but I could probably make about 18 episodes out of my Fringe experience, and, well, quite frankly, I don't think any of us has the time. So, I'm going to leave you now. However, two thoughts before I do. The first one is that for anybody who is thinking about taking a musical, or indeed any show, to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, you may have heard me mention earlier in this episode that I have 2 episodes coming up scheduled to be released in November, which are going to be entirely about what it's like to take a show to the Fringe, specifically aimed at either one-man shows or at newcomers who haven't been to the Fringe before. You may have already picked some tips up from the conversations Thos and I have had, but these 2 episodes will be explicitly geared towards that event. So if you're thinking about taking something to the Edinburgh Fringe, keep an ear open in November, and I hope that you find those episodes interesting when they come out. Secondly, I would like to leave you with one last piece of music. Now, this isn't strictly from a musical show, by which I mean musical theatre, but it is certainly musical. I suppose at a stretch it could be a musical review, although it was almost more in the nature of a concert. Mikhail Asanovic and Jake Wright are the Showhawk duo, a rather peculiar pairing of a very highly trained classical guitarist and a more vocational rock guitarist, who sit down with 2 guitars and essentially blow your mind. The music that they have come up with is a fantastic fusion of their 2 styles and skill sets, and they've created some wonderful arrangements of existing music, which they proceeded to play not only in their own show at the Spaces, but also on the Royal Mile, garnering quite a lot of interest. In fact, I believe I'm right in saying that they actually started on the Royal Mile last year, and I think may have even been headhunted into performing at a venue, and I'm very glad that they were. They took some old favourites, such as The Jungle Book or Star Wars, and took some of the music out of that, and turned it into their own rather unique style, which is inspired by Rodrigo and Gabriella. However, I am actually going to leave you at the end of this Edinburgh Fringe Musical Talk series with a classical medley that they have put together. Simply because, well, I thought they were so good that I wanted to be able to shout about them. So, here is the Showhawk duo with their classical medley. Enjoy, thank you for listening as always, and I will see you in about a month's time for a little bit more Edinburgh Fringe madness, where we will be looking forward to next year and the concept of what it's like to take a show to the Fringe. So, as in fact I'm about to enter a week where I'm going to my first musical theatre production in Toronto, I leave you, and it just remains for me to wish you good musical health. What do you mean? Someone's already used that, no they? What? TV? I don't have a TV. What are you talking about? This episode of Musical Talk presented and edited by David Kingsmill. The Musical Talk theme and variations are copyright David Kingsmill 2012. The copyright for all other music remains with the original rights holders.
In the beginning there was the Word.
And then there were outtalks. Everybody happy with that?
Yeah,
if you are.
Anything you wish you hadn't said? Say it now, because I will forget. Tough. You've probably noticed just talking to me, I say more than any other human being on this planet, so I'm used to editing these down.
It started well.
I'm my own worst enemy. I really am. It's alright, none of this is going to go on. When you finish choking, we shall go on. Are you sitting comfortably?
I'm doing so well today. Oh god. Yes, company. It was a while ago, I can't remember it now.
A while ago, it was about 6 days.
Yes!
Not even
After
that.
which I've seen how many shows?
It's alright, I can't remember what I saw yesterday.
But yeah,
I thought apparently that Sunday was Saturday.
Well, it's like me, I saw the most amazing thing.
Oh, yes.
I can't remember it.
Yes, that was very impressive. Anyway, back to company.
Yes, company.
Otherwise I'm going to be editing this thing for about 8 years.
Yes.